Welcome to a lesson on integrating sources into your writing. This lesson is broken into 3 parts: synthesizing your sources, summarizing, paraphrasing, and quoting, and citing your sources. At the end of this presentation, viewers should be able to use a concept matrix to synthesize common and divergent themes from their sources, avoid plagiarism by properly summarizing, paraphrasing, and quoting information from their sources, and format in-text citations in APA or MLA style. Part 1. Synthesizing your sources. If you have been asked to write a research paper, one of the more challenging aspects of that is to effectively integrate relevant information from your sources into your writing. What do we mean when we say synthesize? The definition of the word is to put together or combine parts or elements into a complex, coherent whole. For your purposes, this means to take related pieces of information from different sources and bring them together to find the commonalities or the ways in which they agree, as well as any points upon which they may differ or diverge. It means parsing out the elements from a source that are relevant to your topic and the themes that you aim to address in your writing. One of the best tools to help you with this process is a concept matrix, also referred to as a synthesis matrix. This is a spreadsheet or table to help you organize and map out how you will use each of your sources. It is recommended that you use a process such as this to help you synthesize your sources. And here is an example of a concept matrix. On the left 2 columns, we have information to identify each source. First the date, then the author. This is followed by a column where we identify the research methodology used, the type of study or research design, or a particular focus or approach that will be useful to know. The last 5 columns are our concept columns, one for each of the themes that we hope to address in our research. You don't have to have 5, use whatever number is appropriate for you. The idea is to then put each of your sources in one of the rows. Insert the date and author, the methodology, and then indicate with an X if that article addresses each concept or theme. If it does not, leave that column blank. Another approach would be to list the ideas or statements that you think you may want to reference, along with the page number where you found it. When complete, you have a visual representation of where each of your sources will be able to contribute. You also have ready access to the author and date, both of which are necessary for in-text citations. Part 2. Summarizing, paraphrasing, and quoting. When you integrate ideas from your sources into your writing, you have 3 options: summarize, paraphrase, or directly quote. Summarizing. When you summarize from a source, you are distilling several paragraphs or pages down to what you see as the key points as related to your specific topic and arguments. Be sure that you are using your own words and a tone that is consistent with the rest of your writing. You are still borrowing ideas from someone else, but make sure to use an in-text citation to acknowledge the original source. Paraphrasing. Use paraphrasing when you want to convey a specific point from a source author, but it is not so distinctive or so technical that you need to use a direct quote. To paraphrase is to restate an author's idea using your own words and sentence structure. Swapping out a word or 2 is not enough. When you paraphrase, you are borrowing ideas from someone else, so make sure to use an in-text citation to acknowledge that source as well. Quoting. Avoid overuse of direct quotes in your writing. Use direct quotes when it's not really possible to paraphrase an author's statement, or in those cases where you feel it's important to convey an author's exact phrasing. Anytime you use a direct quote, you must put it in quotation marks. Short passages that you're quoting can be included within a paragraph. Use a block quote for longer quotations. Be sure to introduce the quoted passage in some way and to include an in-text citation. The problem with plagiarism. A common misconception is that as long as you cite your sources, both at the end of the paper and throughout using in-text citations, that you've done everything you need to do. Doing this means that you've likely avoided plagiarizing ideas, but you still may be guilty of plagiarizing your source author's words. It is important to carefully summarize or paraphrase. Be sure that you are putting your source author's observations and ideas into your own words. Part 3. Citing your sources. Of course, you will need to compile all of your sources in a reference list for APA or a works cited list for MLA. They go at the end of your paper. For this presentation, though, we are focusing only on how to cite your sources in text. Think of research-based writing as a conversation that you are having with your sources. The trick is to introduce each of your sources into your writing in a way that makes sense, that feels natural, and that accurately states the author's ideas. So let's talk about signal phrases. These are the words that you can use to introduce ideas that are not your own. Examples include according to, studies by, reported, as, blank points out. Other useful verbs that can be used to signal that a summary, paraphrase, or quotation from a source follows are argues, contends, suggests, confirms, finds, refutes, and maintains. Signal phrases that include the author's name also function as a narrative style in text citation. Just add the year in parentheses after the author's name for APA, or for MLA, put the page number in parentheses at the end of the sentence. In-text citations, APA style. For in-text citations for both APA and MLA style, you can choose a parenthetical citation at the end of the sentence, or at the end of the segment of the sentence that relates to the source, or a narrative citation in which the author's name is part of the sentence. With APA, you need to include the author's last name and year of publication. For a source with 3 or more authors, list the first author's last name followed by et al. If you are quoting from the source, include the page number. In-text citations, MLA style. Similar to APA, you can place your citation in an end of the sentence parenthetical or as part of the narrative. With MLA, you need to include the author's last name and the page number. For a source with 3 or more authors, list the first author's last name followed by et al. Remember, if you reference a source in the body of your writing, make sure to also include that source in your reference list or works cited list. Want to learn more? We've listed some helpful resources here. Still have questions or concerns? Contact a librarian at TML.